Okay, are we live? I think we are on. Hello, fellow Psychonauts. Hope you're all doing okay. Slightly better than me anyway. I'm a little teeny tiny bit rough today because I was out last night and I'm a little bit hungover. So if I seem like I'm lacking a little bit of energy, that's why. Completely self-inflicted. Yeah, I did way too much last night. Kind of shines an interesting light on that. If you guys have been keeping up with my recent videos, you know, I had this night where I took some mushrooms and had a very intense experience, and the next morning I was completely fine. And then last night I go out for a few of the kind of like the society mandated alcoholic beverages, and today I'm just an absolute wreck. so yeah, I think this is just something in there which I'm sure I could explore, and I'm feeling more sort of philosophical. But I hope you guys are doing okay. So welcome to the stream, guys. And actually, just before I sort of get into a little bit of sort of housekeeping, I think this is probably the last time I'm going to do this kind of format of stream. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing the streams. I just want to explain a little bit what I mean there. But this kind of format, what I do now, where it's just kind of me and a webcam and this, what I want to do is I'm getting some new kind of software which will allow me to, as we streams, I'll be able to bring in things like video clips and images, or even other guests from something like sort of from Skype conversation stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to sort of have much more options to what goes on in these streams. So yeah, I'm getting some new software for doing that, and I think the next month we'll have that going. See if that brings in gives us a few more things. So what has been happening? I'd say since the last time that we did one of these streams, I think the main thing was I had this very deep mushroom trip, which I don't know if you guys have seen this on the video I did about that, but it was just an absolutely knocked me on my ass. A very, very intense experience. But a really good experience. It was really positive, and I'm sort of looking to probably revisit that experience in the next week or two. So I'll let you know how that goes. So I can see sort of people popping in from the comments. Martin, Thomas, Dave, What is Existence, Immortal Explorer, Stefan, and DMT Truth. Hi guys, as always, good to have you with us. Quite a few names I recognize from the comments here, so it's cool to see you guys join us. And the other thing that I wanted to do as part of this live stream, but just let me grab one, is I wanted to do a giveaway on one of these Chrysanthescope things that I've been making as like a project along with one of my friends here in my hometown. So I don't know if you guys have seen, I made a video recently just sort of showing where I was up to with this. We've been sort of doing this as like a DIY home project, you think, for probably about 18 months now. It's been through like a lot of different like prototypes and stuff. And for any of you guys who don't know what this is, it's a kind of like a bit like a kaleidoscope that makes kind of trippy patterns. I'll see if I can get it to work on this webcam, but yeah, the webcams are not ideal for it. But let me just, so what you need is you get a torch, and let me see if I can see this. Ooh, hold on. Yeah, it's not showing up too great on the webcam. Oh, there we go. I can see it a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, it makes. I've got a video about it. You can see it on the video, but it makes these very sort of trippy, like sort of holographic images. And yeah, I thought because I've got so many of these like prototype ones lying around, I thought I'd give away one within this live stream. So if anybody wants a chance to win one of these, all you need to do is put in the comments. So not in the chat section, not in the live chat, but in the comments of the video. So, which I think you have to wait until the video's been processed. So after the live stream, you have to sort of come back and put it in there. But if you go into the comment section and just put a comment saying scope, that's all you got to say, scope. These are called Chrysanthescopes, but just put scope. And then in the next live stream, I'll pick one of those at random and I will send you one of these. It's one of the sort of prototype ones. Again, go watch the video, which has got much better footage of it, doing this sort of trippy thing. It really is pretty awesome to see it do it. It doesn't, I can't get it to in these in this light and on this webcam. I'm just not going to do it justice at all. But go watch the video. The stuff that I show in that video of the sort of the patterns that emerge is all just captured from one of these. What happened is I got one of these and I got my other camera on a tripod, like set up so they were both perfectly still looking into each other in a dark room, and all that footage is coming from one of these. So if you want one, yeah, there you go. There's a chance for you to win one of the prototype ones. So yeah, and I will stress, because it is one of the prototypes, it is a little it's got a few little tiny imperfections in it. The actual patterns it produces are still just as good, but there are a few little scratchy bits on it and stuff like that. But I figured it's a freebie, it does the job, it looks nice, you know, got a nice little objecty thing. So if you guys want that, I think just post a comment after, not in the chat, but in the comment section afterwards, just saying scope, and we'll pick one of those out for you. But I'm really pleased with this. It's they really turned out quite well. And I've got to say a big shout out to my friend Julia, who I work with on this. She's the one who does all the 3D printing and all the laser cutting and stuff. She's a very workshoppy creator type person. So I saw her come up with the ideas and the thing, and she's the one who does the actual slicing and dicing to make it. So shout out to Julia. Anyway, so so I've had that going on. What else has been going on? Yeah, I suppose another thing that comes from this is, you know, you see a lot of like YouTubers and they do things like, you know, like merch stores, and that's something I kind of resisted for a while, but I'm kind of seeing this as, if I, you know, this is kind of like the merch for this channel, and I think it's something I kind of, you know, it's personal to this channel, you know, because it's something I sort of made and had a hand in. So yeah, I guess this is kind of like almost like the first example of channel merch kind of thing, which is something I never expected myself to be doing. Anyway, what else got going? Oh yeah, the other thing that pops up, I'm exploring the option of having a Discord server. No, just as another sort of a level of interaction. So something whereby there'll be some kind of, I don't know, hangouts and people. I'm looking really to get a bit more interaction with you guys. So if there's people who want to have some kind of, you know, more of a one-to-one sort of voice chatty thing, that's what I'm exploring. So I'll let you know how that's working out, but I'm just having to learn about sort of Discord and how that works. I've got my 13-year-old daughter explaining stuff to me. So yeah, I'm feeling old when the kids are explaining the fancy new technology to me. So, and what else do I want to tell you guys about? I just want to tell you about stuff that we've got coming up, and so like for future videos planned. So one that I am super excited about is on Tuesday, I'm going to be talking to my friend Dr. James Cook again. So I don't know if you guys have seen, I did some videos previously with James. James is a neuroscientist who's very interested in psychedelics and sort of consciousness. And we've been meaning for ages to sort of meet up again and have another conversation, because he's just such a fascinating guy, very intelligent, but can explain his ideas very cleanly and you know, in a very simple way. He's just publishing a new paper all about his kind of theory of consciousness and why consciousness is a thing in living creatures. So yeah, I've been pecking his head like, James, we've got to talk about this. We've got to do another show and talk all about this theory. And so I'm going to be meeting with him on Tuesday, and we'll be recording that over Skype. And yeah, if there's any questions or anything that you guys want to ask, I can either put it in the chat comments here, and I'll do it, or you can also, probably a better place would be to put it on the subreddit. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to James again. We had originally planned to do an ayahuasca retreat together in January, but that fell through. Well, fell through for me because I had some medical problems. So yeah, I was real sort of a bit bummed out I didn't get to talk to him more then. So yeah, in this conversation we're going to have next week, we'll be talking all about his theory of consciousness, sort of my own sort of things that have popped up from my own experiences, and also just like his take on this ayahuasca experience. So yeah, looking forward to talking to James. What else have I got coming up? I've got a new video regarding inner mastery, which this is something I was going to have it done for this weekend, but it's kind of needed a little bit more work. But this would be one of the videos that I make where I am being a little bit critical. In fact, I'm being extremely critical of an organization. For those of you who don't know, Inner Mastery is an ayahuasca organization, but I had a conversation with a guy recently who was he was on the directive board of Inner Mastery, and he left and basically became a whistleblower on them. And he reached out to me and he shared some pretty dark sort of information. And I thought, okay, I need to kind of put this together into some sort of series to explain why I've got a problem with this particular organization called Inner Mastery. So I'll be publishing the first part of that next week. Again, it is going to be a critical video, but I think it's very interesting, and I think it's information that needs to be out there. So yeah, I'll be interested to know what you guys think of that one. And then I've got something else going on where I'm talking to somebody, and I thought this is something new for me, something I'm trying. So what it is, I've done these videos before where I've sort of talked about either a person or a set of ideas, and I've been critical of it. And the classic example of this would be the videos I've done about Octavio Rettig or Leo Gura. And rather than just doing that sort of thing again, there was a topic that came up around Neo-shamanism. Now, for those of you who don't know what Neo-shamanism, it's basically sort of New Age shamanism. It's where where I would basically decide I am a sort of a modern shaman, and I would see that as being equal to, say, like a traditional Peruvian shaman, someone who's like been trained in the jungle. Now, obviously, those guys those traditional Peruvian shaman who do these ayahuasca retreats, I've got a lot of respect for those guys. And these kind of neo-shaman, to be honest, I'm very skeptical of. I've got a lot of criticism of them because I see it as like sort of thing like, you wouldn't just decide you're a neo brain surgeon or a neo aircraft pilot. There has to be some element of training and something that goes around that. You can't just decide, oh, I'm a shaman. And so I've been very skeptical of people who make that kind of declaration. I'm thinking, no, you are not the same as someone who spent sort of years perfecting their craft here. So I was going to make a video about that, but then I thought, right, rather than just me wailing on some dude, I'm going to reach out to one of these people and get their input on it and see if they can maybe I just need to educate myself here or at least understand their perspective, even if I'm going to be critical of it. So I'm meeting with a guy called Hunter Salazar. He is, a very, I guess he would describe himself as like a sort of a modern shaman. And we're going to have a sort of conversation about it, see if, I will put some of my criticisms to him. He's going to sort of, give me on it. And hopefully we can have like a good faith conversation around, this neo-shamanism. I'll be interested to see how it turns out, because I'm sure as you guys have seen, I can be a little bit sort of like, this is bullshit sort of stuff, but I'm going to try and keep an open mind and have that conversation, and we'll see where it goes. And then I'll post the conversation and you guys can sort of chime in it. But I thought that was it's a new, like I say, it's a new approach for me. Normally I'm kind of used to just like sort of pointing at something and saying that's bollocks. But I thought I'll give this a try. And Hunter, he seems like a very nice guy. I've watched a few of his videos on YouTube. Again, I completely disagree with most of what he says, but let's see how that turns out. So that's the kind of stuff I've got coming up. So let's see, I've got everything. So so the thing on Inner Mastery, the thing with James and Hunter Salazar. The other thing I was planning on doing, I wonder if get a bit of feedback from you guys around this. So I mentioned I was looking on doing another sort of mushroom trip, something. There's another thing that I've been looking to do for a while, which is a substance called 2CB. Apparently this is a guy who's called Alexander Shulgin, who was like the guy who first synthesized sort of MDMA. He sort of talked a lot about 2CB as being like this perfect blend between the sort of the empathic feel of MDMA and the sort of psychedelic feel of something like LSD. So I've been curious about that for a while, and that's probably something I'm going to be trying in the next couple of weeks. But what I was thinking of that is that when I try either this 2CB or do my next sort of mushroom trip, is to somehow try and capture the footage. I've seen a lot of videos, and I've even done them myself with DMT, where you capture footage of the actual trip, and it's kind of quite easy to do with DMT because it's such like it's like a 15-minute experience. But with something like mushrooms or MDMA, where you've got this like multi-hour experience, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't happen within that video. So, and also then you've got to deal with things like low light situations and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to try and set that up somehow so I can record one of these trips and then see what happens with it. And then I'll sort of edit it down into something useful. So yeah, let me sort of let me know what your thoughts are on that. So I say I think it's something. I think the gist of with a lot of what I'm talking about here is it's stuff I'm looking to experiment in. So I'm looking to experiment into sort of different kinds of conversations, different kinds of videos to make. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Anyway, let's have a quick look through the comments and see what's going on so far. So yeah, a lot of hello. So hello to everyone. So one from Stefan, would love to see more videos with you and Amanita Dreamer. So glad I found her. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have all watched the video I did with Amanita Dreamer. She's a lady from the US who I think she just works exclusively with the Amanita muscaria mushroom. And I was very intrigued by the stuff she put out on her channel. And I've been watching a lot of her stuff, and just such a nice person. Yeah, if you've not already seen that video, go check it out. Amanita Dreamer. She was absolutely fascinating. And yeah, I hope we're doing some more sort of collaboration with her in future. And that's kind of, it ties back into this thing I was talking about at the beginning. I said, I'm going to try and do this in a different format. Things where I can bring in live guests, even though they're, via Skype or via some other thing. Because I think this kind of format that we have now, so, I'm talking to you and you guys are talking to me through the chat. But then if we could do this like an interview situation with somebody else, and you guys could be asking the questions. So it could be sort of me here and Amanita Dreamer or James Cook or something. And I'm talking to them, but you guys can ask questions in real time. And it becomes sort of a kind of community-based project. I would really like to be able to do something like that. And I'm just trying to learn the technical aspects of how to make that sort of fit together. But that would be, as an ideal situation, something where we can have a much more real-time conversation and get questions from you guys. So people say that they would also buy one of the Chrysanthescopes. If you do want to buy one of these guys, as I mentioned, we're doing the giveaway, but for anyone who doesn't want to wait for the giveaway, if you just want to buy one and also support this channel in doing so, then if you my email address or the channel email address, adeptopsychonautica@gmail.com. It's in the description part of my channel banner, in the About tab, sorry. And just send me a message and we can do sort of a transaction over PayPal. I've already been taking a few orders for these. I've had a few coming over the weekend. So it looks like it's starting to take off a little bit. But just drop me a message and we can work out the details. It's the price that it's costing on them so far. It's €85. And then whatever the shipping costs to wherever you are in the world. So if you're in Europe, it'll probably be, I don't know, 10, 15 euros. I think for the US, it's been something like around about 20 euros. But again, it'll vary depending on where you are in the world. So let me know. So Mauro asks, are the visuals of the scope similar to the DMT experience? And that's certainly what we're trying to recreate. And what I would say is that it's a really good simulation of the DMT experience. But the DMT experience itself is so weird, it's unsimulatable. But when you come out of that experience, you condense it down into something you can sort of hold in your memory, something you can sort of relate to. And that's what this is. It's very... The geometry that comes out of it, these sort of geometrical patterns, that's very reminiscent of the sort of DMT experience. It's very reminiscent of what Terence McKenna calls the chrysanthemum, this bit where it all kind of coalesces together and then you explode into the main DMT experience. The main DMT experience itself is just completely weird and could not be fit into any kind of physical object. But kind of the light show that kicks off that experience, that's what I think we capture here. And that's why we chose this name of Chrysanthescope, because it really is like the bit that kicks you into that breakthrough experience. So I think everybody who I've showed this to instantly says, yeah, that's very trippy. It's very, they get it. They can relate to it. I took one last time I went to Peru. I had one, and I took it there, and I was sort of passing it around when you do like the group shows, and people will sort of, you know, they'd just been on like ayahuasca, and then they were looking into it like, oh wow, yeah, this looks like it. But there is this kind of extra dimension of weirdness in DMT or ayahuasca or any psychedelic that yeah is just uncapturable, I think. Let's have a look. So he says, you've got a big house. We don't live too far from each other. Is it okay if we grow weed in your house? We can make a lot of money. I can grow in hydro big yields. No, mate. no, I'm not going to grow weed in my house. I think there was one time I tried growing a weed plant, and it wasn't particularly because I wanted to try and grow and smoke my own weed. It was just for the kind of, I do like growing things, and you guys have probably seen I grow sort of cacti and stuff like that. So we tried growing a weed plant, and it just smelled so bad. Like I just couldn't believe that, you know, it was, I thought the neighbors were going to become acutely aware of it. It was just so musky. So yeah, no, I've no plans to be growing huge quantities of weed here. Let's see. Amanita's on the channel. Hey, happy solstice. Yes, I'd completely forgotten it was solstice, and I think it was on a different day, wasn't it, because of the leap year thing? So it was like I moved a day forward. But it was when I was living back in England, like the solstice was always a big thing for us, and we would go out to Stonehenge, and we would sort of, the solstice night is the only night in England where you can actually walk up to the monument at Stonehenge and be there, and there'd be a big sort of party, and everyone would stay there overnight, and then you'd see the sun come up through the henge in the morning. And it was this like, you know, it was just, everyone would start cheering. It was this awesome event. And that's, I think, Amanita, when we were talking to you about the thing with the horns, and I mentioned all these kind of like pagan guys at Stonehenge. That's what you reminded me of when you did the thing with the horns on one of your videos. So yeah, happy solstice to everyone. And my friends back in the UK, I hope you managed to get down there to Stonehenge. I'm guessing probably not, actually, with the lockdown situation. I keep forgetting, because where I live at the moment, the kind of the lockdown situation is pretty much lifted now. Things are back to normal. But I kind of forgotten that it's not like that everywhere else in the world. So if you are still going through that, hope you stay safe, and yeah, I hope it's not too chaotic. But yeah, Amanita, if you're up for doing a chat again at some point in the future, and I was just saying, I think it would be cool if we could do this and be taking sort of, you know, questions from people at home. So yeah, that would be something for the future. C Rocks, any experiences with Iboga? This question, it comes up every single stream about Iboga. But it's interesting because actually since the last stream, then there has been a bit of a development on this side about Iboga. So I personally have always said I wouldn't do Iboga for various medical reasons. It just wouldn't sit well with me. But my wife, Rachel, is super interested in Iboga, and she wants to do it. And that how soon we actually get around to her doing it is we're not sure. But she's been on the channel before, and she's been very open about her eating disorder and what she's looking to do. You know, Iboga is supposed to be very good for breaking these bad habits that people have. And it could be, you know, a bad habit. The typical example is like a heroin addiction or something like that. Now, Rachel doesn't have a heroin addiction, but what she does have is a body image problem. The way she perceives herself is different to how she actually is. And if you guys might have seen, she's been on my videos a few times. She's a tiny little thing, but she perceives herself as being kind of, you know, overweight or fat, or she's got some dysphoria thing going on with her body. So we were wondering whether that was something Iboga could help with. And we've been watching like a lot of documentaries just this last few weeks about Iboga. Oh man, they are scary. Iboga is, yeah, very, it looks intense. it's also got a much higher risk to it, like a physical risk than all other psychedelics, particularly for somebody who's sort of like extremely underweight, like what my wife is. So yeah, it's something we're really looking into. But personally, I don't have any experience with Iboga. I think the potential within it is, I think it's hard to dispute at this point. So you see, I've been watching these documentaries of people who are like, lifelong heroin addicts, and they go and do a sort of a week-long sort of Iboga retreat and come out and just say they have zero craving or zero withdrawal symptoms even. They just come out and they go through this kind of week of hell, but afterwards they're just absolutely fine, and that's incredible. So there's something there, but I think I would need to have a really good reason for me personally to do, but I don't think it's something I would sort of do recreationally, or I'm certainly not feeling that call to it as a psychedelic. It doesn't call to me in the same way that, say, mushrooms or ayahuasca or DMT does. But yeah, I mean, it's a crazy substance, and also that, I mean, there's Iboga and then there's Iboga. So Iboga being the sort of the indigenous sort of like, native way of doing it, where you eat these big balls of like vegetable root mush, and it looks like you have to eat like a lot of it as well. And then you go through this kind of Bwiti African ceremony where you're dancing all night and sort of all this chanting. It looks very intense, a lot more intense than an ayahuasca ceremony, and they can be pretty intense. And then there's the sort of like the Ibogaine, which is the sort of the extracted sort of version. So you're only getting this kind of one active element. And yeah, it's just something that me and Rachel have been talking about recently. So I'll let you guys know if we come to any kind of decisions around that. So Immortal Explorer, this is a fellow YouTuber. I've been watching some of your stuff, mate. Has anyone been to the Elf Strip Club on DMT? I mean, when you call it like the Elf Strip Club, I think this is one of those things where people will have different names for the thing that you see. So, the classic one being sort of machine elves from Terence McKenna. I've always called it this hyperdimensional world of what the fuck. And I think everyone's got their own name for it. So, but I think the gist of what you're talking about, I would sure a lot of people can relate to it, that there is some place where there's this kind of mischievous, bonkers sort of place. For you, it's manifesting as this elven strip club. Like I said, for me, it manifests more as this kind of like theme park. It's kind of like this crazy chaos theme park, and it's just like, welcome, and it's just bonkers. So yeah, I wouldn't call it the elf strip club, mate, but I think we've probably been in the same kind of place. Rick says, I can remember many geometrics, etc. on DMT and a few main events sometimes. Other times it feels like a distant place in a dream. I can't remember anything. Anyone else get that? Sort of, mate. I would say for most of mine, I do know people who've had DMT and just basically pretty much blacked out. And for me, I've always had some kind of hyper vivid alternate reality. But the nature of that reality has varied insanely, in that sometimes it's been very almost like a kind of a sci-fi film. I've had some where it's been just absolute sort of, and by when I say sci-fi film, I meant like it felt very kind of fleshed out and sort of, it was as in like there were walkways and there was there was corridors and there was rooms with things happening, and it was all this very sort of sci-fi sort of, everything was very white and sparkling. There was like holographic computers and stuff there. It felt like I was in some kind of space station. So I've had experiences like that. I've had experiences where I just felt like I was in like the womb of the universe, just being bathed in euphoric love. So again, completely different to this kind of sci-fi space station thing. And then I've had just so much just like I said, this trippy chaos theme park thing. So, and the sci-fi space station stuff is very, again, I can describe it in terms where it's like it's rooms and corridors and stuff. But the other more transcendent stuff is much harder to sort of put into words. So it feels distant because it's just impossible to reconcile it down into like a normal narratable. You've got to kind of use these words which don't come anywhere close to describing it. So yeah, I would say sometimes I remember it visually clearly, and sometimes remember it as like a feeling, as a distant feeling. So I don't know if that's what you mean, but there's certainly a variation of what you sort of bring back with you. So from Martin, solstice was 9:45 last night. Yeah, man, I was completely oblivious. I mean, I was just out with some friends last night, and yeah, we were just sat there thinking, and just suddenly realized as someone's going like, shit, it's solstice. But yeah, so again, happy solstice to everyone. From Minty Love, have you ever tried Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds? Oh, had the worst 12 hours of my entire life on these. It makes shrooms look like jelly beans unless you know different. No, mate, I've heard of them, but I've not had them myself. I think if I remember correctly, is this LSA? Is it some? I can't remember what the active ingredient is in those seeds. I'll just do a quick Google, actually look it up. But yeah, it's one of the things I've not tried. Again, I've not really felt the call to them. So Hawaiian wood rose. Common side effects include nausea, dilated eyes, and typical hangover feelings such as vertigo. Yeah, it's not selling it, mate. And based on what you're saying, the worst 12 hours is a long time to be tripping. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer things like mushrooms and ayahuasca over something like LSD. LSD kind of it goes on a little bit too long for me. I prefer that, these kind of like, for a trip to last kind of like 3 to 4 hours, that's a good amount of time for me. LSD to me normally goes on, like 8 hours. It peaks around the sort of 3 to 4 hours, but then there's a long sort of come down to it. And yeah, so 12 hours, I wouldn't do that. And based on what you're saying, Minty, I think it's probably, not the thing for me. From Eduardo, we had magic with Changa. Yeah, so Changa is supposed to be interesting. I've not done Changa myself, and that's the it's DMT mixed with an MAOI in a smokable form. So it's almost like smokable ayahuasca, if my understanding is correct. I've got some friends who are big on Changa, and they report sort of good things around it. But yeah, it's one of those that's been on my list along with a few other things. But salvia is another one that people keep mentioning I should try. And again, I've been very on the fence with salvia, but I just can't actually get hold of it anywhere. It's I think in the US salvia is legal, but here it's in the EU, at least where I'm in the EU, it's quite hard to get hold of. Let's see. So C-Rock says, thanks for answering the question. You might want to look into microdosing Iboga instead of doing a full flood dose, which also has a medical risk involved. Yeah. It's. I guess I'd need to. I've not read too much about microdosing it. I don't know. I think for me to microdose Iboga, I would have to have or I suppose with microdosing anything, I would have to have a reason for me to do it. It would be like either I feel the call to do that thing, or there's something that I'm looking to fix, which I think Iboga can help with. So like I've talked about my wife, Rachel, there's a reason why she wants to do it. It's because she wants to break this kind of bad behavioral habit she's got of viewing herself in a certain way, in a certain negative way. But for me, I think I would say the main things I'm going to continue to work with are going to be mushrooms and ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, I don't think I'm going to be able to get around to until probably next year now, because it's just, I don't know if you guys have been following the news, but the situation in Peru is dire, absolutely dire. So one of the shaman that I'm friendly with, Wheeler, who runs a few of the retreats that I've been on, he's been out there basically running like a relief effort, like taking food to villages and stuff like that, because he's got a boat and he's got a source of income from outside Peru. So yeah, he's been doing a great job of doing like GoFundMes to sort of get some donations and then buying rice and just essential supplies, taking out to these villages. He's been like doing a lot of posts on social media, and I think he's doing some great work. But I was thinking that like I was going to be able to like visit Peru in the next month or so, and it's just probably not going to happen. I don't think you can even get into Peru without going through like a 2-week quarantine period. And then if you come back out of Peru, like just to get back into, into the Europe, you're probably looking at another quarantine period as well. And then the chance, the infection rate of coronavirus is crazy in Peru, because it's just really ravaged that country. So my heart really goes out to like, because I've got a lot of, friends and people I respect and people I've hung out with in Peru, and it's just heartbreaking to see how badly that country is ravaged by it. But I think that would be my sort of goal, is that once I'm able to, I would get back and do an ayahuasca retreat, hopefully this year. Because obviously I think that's a good thing to do as well, is to be able to sort of go and put some money back into that system, because they really need that source of income, particularly with the places where these retreat centers were. Their entire economy was based around sort of ayahuasca and sort of ayahuasca tourism. So it's hopefully I can get back out there. And mushrooms I can sort of continue to work with them, which are really like absolutely, I think one of my favorite sort of teachers is mushrooms. And I especially after this experience that I had the other week, it was eye-opening, enlightening. From Tasty Placebo, it's the Jester's holodeck for me. So I'm guessing this is the take on the elf strip club. So Jester's holodeck. I think with these words, everyone will just get instantly if you've had that experience. Call it like jesters or sort of mischievous, or they kind of like there's something. I think jest is good, because there does seem to be something kind of like weirdly medieval about when you see this thing. I think it's when I talk with in the theme park, it's almost like a medieval theme park. It's got these big towers and a bit like sort of Disneyland-esque. It looks very medievally castle type thing. So I think that kind of idea of jesters and sort of things with pointy hats on and elven-y stuff, I think it goes across all these experiences. From Carpe Imodium, your wife isn't going to eat much for a few days after Iboga. Food doesn't have much appeal. Not like nausea. Applesauce is all I can handle. But if anything can help find answers within. So that's been a tricky thing that we've had to deal with when we've been on retreats. So even when we've been on like ayahuasca retreats, then it does, well, for a start, if you're doing these kind of diets before you do it, so you do these, these low sugar or like sort of no sugar, you cut low fat diet before you even go on the retreat. And then when you're on the retreat, your appetite's just so diminished. And then, obviously you spend a lot of time in ceremony throwing up. So for someone like my wife, who has a sort of an eating disorder anyway, and an eating disorder, by the way, her eating disorder isn't bulimia where she's throwing up. It's more anorexia where she's controlling the amount of food that she comes in. But you can lose a lot of weight on a retreat. On a week-long ayahuasca retreat, I lose, several sort of kilos very easily. And that's before like the sort of even like the diet part kicked in. So when you have very sort of low weight, it can be quite scary, because you can drop a lot of weight. And that's something I worry about with her doing Iboga. So that's why we're kind of watching all these documentaries to try and sort of learn as much about it as possible. But again, I don't think it's something we'll be doing instantly. I think it's possibly something maybe for next year or something. We'll have to work it out. Anyway, so someone's saying, someone's commenting on the Hawaiian wood rose. I had a good time, but you have to peel the skin off the seeds and lay them for 1 hour in water so you don't feel sick. Yeah, so I think that's just one of the things when you have these sort of stuff like Syrian rue or even mushrooms, or I'm guessing these seeds. Normally with something like that, there's some sort of indigestible component to it. So it's like the seed casing, or in mushrooms there's a stuff like it's called like chitin. I think it's like the similar kind of stuff as what's in your fingernails, and that's the indigestible part. And it's it's what sort of creates the nausea, because it's, yeah, your stomach sort of doesn't know what to do with it. So yeah, I'm into maybe try that one and see if you can peel them off and maybe it won't feel as bad. From Immortal Explorer, do you have a favorite strain of mushrooms? Not really, mate. I've tried a few, and if I'm absolutely honest, I couldn't tell a difference between them. So, I mean, it's a funny one because different trips have different characteristics, but that seems to happen anyway. I mean, even if you take something like LSD, then you can have completely different experiences. So what we just described earlier with DMT, you can have, one experience which is very sci-fi, one experience which is very sort of cosmic love, from exactly the same substance. So, some people will say, well, that's like different strains of mushroom will equal these different experiences. That's not my experience. I can have, one batch of mushrooms and have a lot of completely different experiences from them. So I couldn't necessarily point the finger and say golden teachers equals this, or, B plus equals that. And so I kind of fall back on the phrase in that kind of mushroom growing community. There's a phrase like a cube is a cube. Cubensis is a cubensis. It doesn't matter if it's a golden teacher. It doesn't matter if it's a B plus. Cube is a cube. And I would pretty much agree with that. So yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily I have a favorite. I've certainly, have some which are stronger or bigger than others. But yeah, I enjoy them all. I wouldn't say that I've had one where I thought it was much better or different to the others. I think they're all equally awesome. Also, salvia is horrible. I hear really mixed, conflicting things about salvia. And on the one hand, I'm very curious. And on the other hand, I don't know, it does have a bit of a PR problem. And I think a lot of it is because of, a bit like LSD, that I was actually involved in there was a conversation on Reddit recently about why is it that, like, say in the US, they're looking to legalize psilocybin and looking to legalize mushrooms, but not looking to legalize LSD. And I think a big part of it is it's just the PR problem. It's LSD just has this bad public relation issue from the 1960s when all the hippies were in it and all the Timothy Leary stuff, to all this kind of propaganda about, people thinking they can fly and jumping off buildings. That all gets put onto LSD and it doesn't really get put onto psilocybin. So when you're looking to sort of legalize something, then yeah, I get why psilocybin's been seen as more acceptable and LSD is not. It's just that LSD's just got a lot of bad public relations. And salvia has the same thing, or at least that's my perception of it. It's because it was like legally available and people could get their hands on it so easily. There's a lot, like, you go on YouTube and there's a lot of videos of like kids just completely freaking out on salvia. And yeah, I think it's given it a bit of a, maybe unjustly so, public relations. But I am curious, I must admit, because I want to see how it fits into the picture of something like DMT or mushrooms. It's supposed to be very visionary. Is it the same kind of visionary? Is it, if it's a different kind of visionary, then what is it? I am curious about that. So yeah, I think I'd probably try it at some point. But yeah, I'm not in a super rush to do it. From Martin, did a mushroom journey last night. Summer solstice plus solar eclipse. Oodles of fun. That sounds awesome, dude. Like I said, one of the times when I was at Stonehenge and me and my friend, we did some LSD and we just watched the sunset. So we're there at Stonehenge. We put like a blanket down on the ground, put some music on, and we just sat there watching all this tribal drumming and all these druids, all these guys with horns and stuff, and all this chanting, and watch the sun go down over Stonehenge, and then sort of the sun come back up again. Just we were both on LSD. It was awesome. So I think stuff like, there's something about things like this kind of ritual, this element of making like your own little ritual around something, which is it can be a very sort of powerful experience. And this ties back into what I was talking about earlier, where the guy, the neo-shaman guy I want to talk to, because what I realized, and it also when I was talking to Amanita Dreamer, there's even as a skeptic, I recognize the power of ritual. You know, the ritual of sitting around a campfire or watching the sunset, or even doing something like, you know, you've got these sort of hyper rituals like ayahuasca or something like that. I see the value in that. And that's what this guy I'm going to be talking to, he's big on ritual. But I guess the line where I'm finding, where I find myself being skeptical, is between that sort of, that ritual where it's got just a kind of lot of personal meaning, and what this guy does is sort of stuff more around doing spells to contain spirits, or you know, making offerings to Odin and stuff. And again, I've been very upfront with him about this. You know, I find that stuff a little bit silly, but I'm not sure why. What's the difference between his offering some sort of offering to Odin than my sitting watching the sunset, or my, you know, again going to Peru and doing an ayahuasca ceremony? Why is my ritual okay and his ritual is silly? And that's what I'm trying to be open to when I talk to this guy. But I do, yeah, I think if I do put faith in some of these kind of rituals as in something that gives you personal meaning, not as in, I don't really think I can bind evil spirits within a crystal or something like that. I think that's, I don't know. I guess we'll see if he can convince me with this when we have this conversation with him. From the iBean, do you think mushrooms have a consciousness, the mycelium functioning like a neural network? Well, this will be interesting. What you might like to see, mate, is the conversation I'm going to have with James Cook, because James, again, is a neuroscientist who talks a lot about consciousness. So, do I think mushrooms have a consciousness? Yes, I do. But let me flesh that out a bit, because I want to make sure that, you know, I'm not necessarily talking about things like I don't even know what I'm talking about, like, you know, spirits or something like that. Which again, I'm not super opposed to. I'll flesh out what I mean. So I'm of the opinion that any living system is conscious on some level. You know, I am conscious. My daughter's hamster is conscious. You guys are all conscious. I think if you are alive, it is a byproduct of being alive that you are conscious. Now, when I say conscious, that's not the same as thinking like a human. You know, I don't think that the tree outside is thinking in the same way that I think, but it is reacting to the world around it. That is a kind of conscious. It is growing towards the light. It is spreading its roots. It is, you know, getting nutrients and stuff from that is some kind of consciousness going on there. And so, with that in mind, I think that, yeah, a mushroom is also a living system. It also has its kind of consciousness. It is reacting to the environment around it. It is, you know, there's no doubt a mushroom is alive in some sense. So yes, I think there is a consciousness to it. Do I think that consciousness is what makes it psychoactive? That I would not necessarily agree with. I don't think that that's what makes it. Yeah, if I eat the mushroom, then it's not the mushroom consciousness that is making me trip, because otherwise, why does the carrot consciousness? You know, I eat the carrot, I don't have the carrot experience. So there's a difference between the consciousness of the living system and the chemical properties that eating that system or consuming that system might give to you. But yeah, I think there is a mushroom consciousness. I do think mycelium is a kind of network. I think this is, you know, there's sort of books and papers and guys like Paul Stamets who talk about this kind of thing. So yeah, I think all living systems have some kind of consciousness, and I'll be talking to James a lot more about this kind of stuff. If you guys want to sort of hear more from, like, James can explain this stuff infinitely better than I can, go check out his channel. It's actually linked on my page. I'll link to James, to Amanita, to Quelia, to Jonas. So yeah, you can find a link to their channel on my channel homepage. But James has just done a series called Living Mirrors, or he's just started a series called Living Mirrors, which explains out his theory around consciousness and living systems. It's good. I've been watching it today. So Minty saying, I didn't feel sick for a while, and just a lengthy come up time, and I dosed again. Yeah, I would always recommend against that, Minty. That that I know, you know, it's in hindsight, it's one of the things you can say, oh yeah, sure, but yeah, I'm more thinking that if you're taking a dose, that's your dose. If it's not enough, then make it another, then do it again another night and take a bit more. But I stacking up like that, because there's kind of the difference between like the threshold where you don't really feel anything and being completely off your tits is tiny. It can be sort of minuscule, you know. I mean, you see this with like sort of you know, with like DMT and stuff like that. The amounts are so minuscule that if you redose, then yeah, I've never had a good experience sort of redosing. So yeah, there might be a lesson there for you, dude. For Michael, hey, I love your videos. You're making really great content. Oh, thanks a lot, dude. Yeah, do you know any literature about this idea? I guess, yeah, you're talking about back to the mycelium idea. So the literature, again, check out Jane's channel. It's really good. Paul Stamets is like, I think, the main expert on mushrooms. He's written a few books. He's been on things like Joe Rogan's podcast. He's just like a absolute mushroom genius. So yeah, I would say go and check out anything by Paul Stamets. Also, Terence McKenna wrote a few things around mushrooms. Dennis McKenna. They had a lot of their big experiences were around mushrooms. They have this kind of famous the experiment at La Chuera, where they sort of basically did this extended, insane mushroom retreat where they were just eating mushrooms constantly. But yeah, but also Dennis McKenna, I think, has written a lot more about the kind of like the chemical process and stuff. But I'd say in terms of the mycelium part, Paul Stamets is definitely the go-to guy there, I think. Carpe Modium. Salvia is very helpful for issues with death. People who take it for fun, especially around a group of people acting like idiots, it's not good. The visions are totally different to anything else. Yeah, mate, so that's why I am curious. I want to see what is the quality of these visuals that make it sort of different. I would say in regards to sort of things being helpful with death, that for me, that was DMT. I used to have real anxiety about death, and DMT sort of helped me there. So I think any kind of psychedelic which could give you that sort of different perspective of, yeah, just that there's something sort of bigger than you, and it just kind of takes you out of your own body. I think that they can really help with that sort of those anxieties that come around death, because I was fucked up with like anxiety at one point. It was dominating my life, just this fear of death, and DMT just sort of fixed it in an instant for me. So yeah, it's good to know that's how we can do it. I do know people who do salvia, like sort of really recommend it. So I think it's the same with most things. If there are ways to do these things and there are ways not to do these things, you know, I think like I hold ayahuasca in very high regard, but if I went into and like had a street party, I went to like a music festival and took ayahuasca, that would be a disaster. And I think that's the problem that salvia had. It was so readily available that people just misused it, and yeah, just had the setting completely wrong, and yeah, just didn't respect it at all. Salvia should be done only by very experienced psychonauts with a trip sitter. I mean, I would say that's true of most things. To be honest, mate, that's from Alan Dedovic. Carpet Imodium, hail the All Father. Yeah, so this is, I know, I guess you're referring to the ritual guy I'm going to be talking to. I'm trying to get past the sort of just reeling at the thought, kind of like the silliness of it. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how we change. If we can change my mind on it. Is it possible to have an ego death on cannabis, like on edibles? That's from Victor. I don't know, mate. For me, no, because I just pass out very easily on cannabis. So I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't class myself as being experienced at all on cannabis. It's not my substance of choice at all. But that, you know, I've got a lot of respect for cannabis. It's just not my thing. So yeah, I won't be able to help too much on that one, mate. From Michael, a profound breakthrough experience gave me realization of the true value of life, and that's why I stopped eating meat, because I don't value my taste over a life of animals. What is your diet, actually? So what I could tell you, Michael, is that I absolutely agree with that, and I would say my diet is probably 80% vegetarian, and I flip-flop on this a lot. So I'm definitely against stuff like factory farming. I think that kind of stuff is horrific. I don't think I'm against eating meat, because it gets into this whole sort of, it's a very murky area to go into, because then it's like, well, is it immoral to factory farm? Absolutely. Is it immoral to hunt and kill something? I don't think it is. If it is, then there's something immoral about the entirety of nature, and I don't believe that to be the case. So yeah, I'm I don't know. I think I could flick a switch in my head and make myself vegetarian. I probably would, but yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not that. It's one of those things. I have a bit of internal gymnastics around. So, but I would say for the most part, I would agree, and I'm very anti-factory farming, but I'm not anti-meat eating. I'll put it that way. Pre-DMT, setting your attention. Have you found setting intention has directly influenced any of your DMT trips? Yes, I think it has, but not. I think, as with all psychedelics, what I've found is you can set your intention, and that isn't necessarily what you're going to get. I would say that my most profound and deep and sort of ass-kicking experiences have not come from the intention I went in there with. So it's, I've had a lot, you have like intention of like, show me love, help me understand myself. And you get a completely different experience, which is super valuable. But yeah, intentions are a funny one. I think it's worth setting intentions. I think it's useful that if you find yourself getting lost in the experience to center yourself back. But my biggest, most powerful experience have just been something that's just been delivered like in my face. It didn't matter what my intention was. Like, no, actually, this is what you're getting tonight. And but yeah, I do always set an intention, even if it's just something simple like help me to understand myself, help me to feel love, help me to be the best person that I can be. Is this the best version of me? So yeah, I think you should always have definitely have an intention. Dank Covenant. I like rituals as well. They set me up well for the experience, but the sun is a real tangible thing, whereas Odin is, well, debatable at best. But more power to the dude if it helps him. Yeah, I think that the thing there, mate. I mean, clearly the sun is a real thing, but you're not when I'm sort of sat watching the sunset. I'm not watching this kind of, this miracle of nuclear fusion happening in the sky. I'm projecting some kind of meaning onto it. I sit there, you're watching the sun go down, and or you're watching a campfire, and you're not watching a chemical reaction. There's something you put in there. And I guess that's the thing around ritual. You kind of put your own sort of like thing into it. And if that's Odin, then yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but like I said, all power to the dude. So Dean's, where do you purchase mushrooms? Yeah, so that's sort of something we can't share on this channel, Dean. We can't share links and stuff like that as well. But yeah, Rick makes a comment, easy to grow your own. Spores are available in the UK very readily for research purposes, of course. Yeah, so that is one thing. If you are in the UK, you can buy spores online. You just go and Google spores, and yeah, they'll send you syringes, and they are there for study purposes only. Yeah, don't grow them, but you can certainly study those spores. And yeah, it's I think that there's plenty of guides on there of how you can grow your own. And I think growing something is a lot more rewarding than doing it. I mean, yeah. So I would say if you're looking on doing mushrooms, then maybe just do a bit of Googling, Dean, and just see what your options are, mate. Immortal Explorer, do you have any experience with sassafras? I don't even know what sassafras is, mate. If you can, sounds interesting. But yeah, if you let me know what sassafras is, because maybe I know it by a different name or something. Do you microdose? That's good for anxiety. So no, I don't microdose. I macrodose. So I did try microdosing, and I didn't think it particularly helped me. It wasn't that it was a negative experience. I just didn't think it was. I didn't feel like I was getting anything from it, and if anything, it was distracting me a little bit. Like some days I'd be at sort of work or something, and I'd just feel a little bit zonked out. So yeah, I think for me personally, I'm not huge on microdosing. I think it's, you know, if people want to try it, go for it. But for me, I'm much more sort of like set up something, you know, make a space of time to do something like, you know, make a weekend, a Friday night, Saturday night, and do a sort of have an experience and then process that experience. That's just my personal preference. But yeah, it's like with anything, mate. It's whatever works for you. From Stephen, just curious as to your thoughts on Conor Murphy. I've no idea, mate. I don't. Who's Conor Murphy? Am I missing something? Yeah, I'll just do a quick Google. Conor Murphy. Looks like some sort of bodylifter guy. No idea, mate. I'd have to look into it. From Dean, did I miss the giveaway of the scope? No, mate. So the giveaway is going to be happening over the next few weeks between this live stream and the next one. So if you want to put your name into the draw to win, all you have to do is put a comment in the chat section. So sorry, not in the chat section, in the comment section of this video. So after this live stream is finished, go back into the comment section of the video and just post a comment saying scope. And what I do, I've got a piece of software that looks through all the comments and we'll pick one at random. So it looks for the phrase scope. So just post that. And then, yeah, on the next live stream, I'll announce who the winner is of that one. So you've got plenty of time, mate. Don't worry. See. So Fatty, my usual intention is quite loose, to connect with my higher self and to have an experience that is best for my personal soul, growth, and the collective. Yeah, I think those are the kind of intentions that I like. Something where there's some where you do it with a very specific intention, but I like to have these ones where like, sometimes you don't necessarily know, or you're not able to sort of verbalize what it is you want, but you're looking for something, and this is why I kind of fall back on like, show me if this is the best version of me I can be. And I think that's kind of what you're is more or less saying here. It's you want to connect with yourself and grow from it. You want a learning experience. And I think that's a good sort of intention to come back on. I've seen a lot of people go into these things with like intentions of like, give me ego death. And I'm making a video about this at the moment, all about sort of ego and ego death. And I think ego death is possibly one of the most overused and incorrectly applied phrases in the psychedelic community. Like people seem to like, they crave ego death as though it's like the be all and end all of sort of psychedelic experience. And it's like, if you have ego death, then you are somehow enlightened or something. And I don't agree with that at all. I think ego death it's an experience, it's something to have, but it's not this kind of like, the ultimate goal of doing psychedelics is not ego death, in my opinion. But I'm going to flesh all this out in a sort of in a video I've got coming up. But yeah, mate, that's a good intention. From Alan, what was your first psychedelic and how was your experience? It was LSD. It was when I was a teenager, and it was the first one. It was a lot of fun, and then it turned into a bit of a nightmare. And I might do a video about that at some point in the future. But I was just, a very inexperienced kid, and me and my friend did it, and it's probably one I might talk about. So it wasn't like the worst experience of my life, and clearly not, because I went on to do a lot more psychedelics. But my first one was LSD. It was very easy to get hold of LSD in the UK. It was like the 90s when I first did psychedelics. Okay, sassafras. I'd never heard of it until last week. It's a plant that grows in North America and Asia. It contains NDA. Okay, a friend recently tried to describe it as like being MDMA with herbs come down. Okay, mate, I'll possibly look into that. Poisonous if prepared incorrectly, though. Right? Yeah. I mean, I guess this is some parallels there with, when I was talking to sort of Amanita Dreamer about sort of the Amanita muscaria, that you've got to prepare it in a certain way. But that's like, as long as you do it properly, then it's sort of fine. But I'll look into that, mate. Are you still able to connect with those early memories behind the firewall since your last mushroom experience? Good question, mate. No, I would say not. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think what that mushroom experience did for me was, I talked a lot about being kind of emotionally blocked and almost like sort of distant from that stuff that happened in my past. And I think what that experience did for me is just give me a window into that where I could look through, and all this kind of stuff just came pouring through it. But it was just for the duration of that experience. And I think it was to give me a taste. I think this is what was happening. I was having a taste of it to kind of prepare myself for exploring that experience further. And I'm glad it didn't just completely break those mental walls and sort of leave, have it all just sort of stay with me forever. But it's kind of like, okay, you want to experience you want to see what's going on in your past. You want to experience some of this. Here you go. Here's the taste of it. And I did, and I got a lot of catharsis from it. But there's more to explore there. I don't feel like there's still me here and this kind of me in the past, and I need to kind of reconcile these two things. And I'm looking forward to doing that. Even though I appreciate it's going to be probably quite a difficult experience. But I think I'm just at the time where I'm sort of ready to deal with this. So yeah, I'll let you know after my next experience how it goes, man, and if I can connect back to that space. I have a lot of DMT right now, but I'm kind of afraid to use it. I have to push myself every time because I'm afraid of a bad trip. Is there any way to prevent that, or can it happen to everyone every time? So yeah, I mean, again, I think this ties back into what is, when you call it, say, like a bad trip. I'm of the opinion, and again, this is just my opinion. It's not sort of scientific fact here or anything, but that the kind of, if there is something that's going on in a bad trip, that is something within you that you need to sort of face. And if you're not ready to face it, which is fine, it's not like you're a pussy or anything like that. If you're not ready to face it, because I've been blocking this stuff off for years, decades even. But yeah, what I would encourage, mate, is try facing that problem. Just go into it. Like, just see what happens. Let that experience, what you're perceiving as a negative experience, let it happen, and just try and face it down. Not with a kind of in an aggressive way. Just let it happen, because particularly if you're talking about having multiple DMT experiences going back, and it's always the same, I would say that's indicating that there's something in there that you need to process. You need to let this happen. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what that might be or what's gone on in your past, but that would be my advice. And that's certainly what happened with me. I was having a few experiences where I could have a very fun experience, but there was this like dark place which I would recoil from, and I would deliberately avoid that. Like, nope, I'm not going there. And it would always be there in my kind of peripheral vision, but I would like, no, I just want the fun times. And then it sort of got to a point where this dark place just could not be ignored. And that was kind of like what I talked about in this mushroom trip. I just thought, right, I'm going to have to, it would not be ignored anymore. And I had to sort of experience it. And I think there's value there. So that would be, I think the way to get over a bad trip, or the way to prevent a bad trip, is to make the bad trip no longer scary, to take the fear element out of that bad trip. And the way to do that, as with anything, is to resolve it, to process it. there are there's definitely some caveats there, depending on, whether you're sort of prepared to. These can be extremely traumatic experiences. You have to be in the place where you're ready to deal with it. So I'm not just advocating like a sort of a gung-ho, like just traumatize yourself at any cost. You have to be in the mindset where you're ready to deal with this. But if you are, then yeah, that would be my sort of recommendation there. Clancy, I had to take a week before I did my DMT. It wasn't like how anyone told me it would be. Got myself all hyped up for no reason. Good shit though. I guess my question though becomes like what, I don't know. It depends on what happened. I think I would say with DMT, you probably didn't have enough then, or have the full experience, because I'd say most people who've had that sort of like the full DMT experience, it's a game changer, mate. It more than any other. Like I think it's yeah. So I would say maybe have another try at it, Clancy, and see where you get to, mate. Okay, I'll just do one last question from Dan Covenant. Is nature immoral? Is an interesting thought. If a creature is born to hunt, a lion, and causes harm to other beings just to further its own life, is that immoral, or is that balance in nature? I mean, I would argue that it's absolute. I mean, this is whether you like it or not, or whether you're horrified by it or not. And we all pretty much admit that a lion tearing a gazelle to shreds is a horrific thing, but that is how the lion, eats and survives. And I think that's something we kind of disassociate from a little bit. We watch something like The Lion King with the noble lion on Pride Rock roaring into the sunset. But yeah, to get there, it was mad. It's had to murder a lot of things, and we humans, we do the same thing. And I think the only difference, what I would say, like I said, I don't have any problem with humans eating meat, or there doesn't seem to be anything unnatural to me about when I've been in the jungle and I see a villager fishing in the river with a fishing rod to catch a fish and eat that night. That seems completely natural to me. Like, why not? But then when we do these things, like these kind of like grotesque factory farming things, where we sort of get other living systems and just turn them into, living meat, just meat factories or egg factories. There's something perverse about that. But I think in terms of what's natural, yeah, I think nature is clearly natural. Plants consume other plants. Insects consume dead plants. We consume, animals consume other animals. The planet is itself consuming us. We are all going to be ground into dust by this planet and the universe that we find ourselves in. That is nature. So yeah, man, I think it's all perfectly natural. Okay, I'd like to just do one last one. Have you ever tried ayahuasca, or would you consider trying it in lieu of ayahuasca? Yes, CJ, I've done ayahuasca a few times. I've got a video on my channel about. Have I done a video about my ayahuasca experiences? Don't know. I can't remember now. But yeah, I did ayahuasca before I did ayahuasca, because I wanted to sort of dip my toe in and see if that was if it was worth me going to Peru and sort of, I wanted to see what this thing might be like. So I did ayahuasca first a few times, and I had some great experiences on it. And I would recommend it, but I would definitely do it with the caveat that it is different to ayahuasca. It just is. It's not. There is you could say there's like a number of reasons for that. Maybe it's the setting of being in Peru and stuff like that. But I think physically it feels different as well. But sure, I would sort of recommend it. Okay, guys, well, what I'll do, I'm gonna have to leave it there. Thank you again so much for joining me. Love talking to you guys. Just a quick reminder for anybody who wants to go into the draw to get this lovely shiny Chrysanthescope, which has got the channel logo on it and stuff. Then yeah, all you need to do, go into, so once I close this stream, I think it takes about like 20 minutes to process. Go back into the video clip on YouTube. Just post in the comment section there, scope, SCOPE, And then we'll do a draw next time, and I'll send this out to one of you guys, and I hope it will bring you much enjoyment. And also, I just wanted to say quickly before I go, to the guys who got the cacti and who sent me pictures and stuff about how they're doing, it's really cool. I'm glad to see that they've got good homes. So thanks to you guys for looking after those cacti, and I hope they bring you much enjoyment. And yeah, stay tuned, guys. Got some awesome videos coming up. I said probably the next one is James Cook. So take care, be safe, love you all, and yeah, look forward to sort of interacting with you some more next time. Okay, guys, laters.